Okay, so I'm actually really nervous about this, and I think it's really awkward, but gotta start somewhere, right? So, starting today, which is January 24th, 2020, I am starting to vlog, and specifically, I'm gonna start to vlog my cosplay progress. Now, I've started a lot of videos. I've done some like proper tutorial videos. I've done some like stream videos. I've tried just like taking work logs and shit like that, but I never quite managed to actually put together a video. And it sucks. Like, I actually really hate that I can't have cool videos that like I can show to people about like my process and stuff, because like I really like to share my process with people, and I really like to show people how I do things. And what I've realized is, number one, it's really awkward to try and like film myself doing anything. I'm actually, if you haven't noticed, I'm not really looking at myself in the camera because I actually really hate looking at myself, and I really hate my teeth. So, so yeah, it's awkward even just like looking at myself, while I'm recording this video. It's also really awkward to record yourself when you are doing any sort of, like crafting thing, because you have to hold things a weird way, or you have to like snuggle up to the camera so that it can see like what you see, or, you get out of frame while you're working on stuff because you don't think about it, and the camera stops filming, or runs out of battery, or runs out of space, or any other number of things. And then you just lose it. Or you get like really into the groove and you just don't want to fuck with it. Or you're like, oh, I'm just going to do this one little thing, and you don't film. And then like 6 hours pass and you've got an entire suit of armor and nothing that shows how you made it. So I've been struggling a lot with it, and I really wanted to change that this year. I wanted to actually get all my documentation together and to like put together some like cool shit for people to see like how I make things. So far, it hasn't worked out. So we're going for plan B. And plan B is I'm just gonna start vlogging. I don't know, maybe this never goes on the internet. If it's on the internet and you're watching it, hi. I don't know like how polished it'll be. Probably not very polished, because I just don't have time and energy to devote to doing a lot of video editing. I don't have a lot of space on my computer or my camera or my phone or anywhere to like just kind of batch record a bunch of this shit. Hopefully I can stitch together some stuff. This is the first like test, I guess, is katsucrunch, which is in 3 weeks. So I have 3 weeks. We've canceled a bunch of our costumes, which I'll explain at some other time in some other video. I am doing Great Lord Dimitri, and I started it technically a while ago and kind of fell off. I was doing other costumes for us. I was doing other projects for other people, and just being sad and being sick and everything else. So it's kind of awkward, and we'll get into it eventually. But basically, I have 3 weeks. Last weekend, I did a ton of work that I will go over briefly at some point, and then we will start from here, and hopefully I'll be able to like kind of freeform it a little bit, and hopefully like get a video out of it and be able to show you guys what it's like for me 3 weeks before katsucrunch when I have a costume to make. So see you later.
You suck my nuts. I'm so fresh, you can 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 suck my nuts.
It wasn't here, unfortunately. It looks like they actually changed the tracking. Originally it was like supposed to be here, like Friday, today, the, like, 24th, by 3 p.m. So I was, like, really pumped because it was gonna be here when I got here, and I got to, like, look at the fabric. Like, obviously it's not, like, ready to be used yet, because I need to make the outer shell, because I can get more of that if I need to. I can't get any more of this. I bought everything they had. But I wanted to see it. I was really excited to see it. So, unfortunately, it's gotten pushed back until Monday, which really blows. But that's fine. I checked my other tracking. It looks like my Psy Fabrics, which is the outer wool for Dimitri's cloak, should be here tomorrow. So that actually got bumped up from Monday to tomorrow. So, who knows? Maybe my Sartor Bohemia fabric will arrive tomorrow instead. My fabric.com order, which is all of the fur for the mantle and the trim and stuff, is arriving on Tuesday. So, you know, everything's gonna be here within the next few days, which really, I need to just focus on, like, finishing armor pieces. I'm really hoping that I can get that stuff done over the weekend, and then we can work on, like, cloak stuff for next time. I'm, like, chilling in the car because I think we're gonna go get Starbucks. So I am, like, super curious to see whether or not my prints actually finally printed. I swear Aridbar is just cursed at this point. It was supposed to finish up overnight. Like, the piece that I was working on was supposed to finish up overnight, the fingertips. And the PTFE tube that, like, is attached, because it's a Bowden, it's a CR10, so it has a Bowden tube feed, and the Bowden tube, like, came loose, like, it popped out. So when I came downstairs this morning, there was just, the extruder had just been, like, pushing filament across the living room for, like, 8 hours. So it was just like, how does that even happen? So it popped the Bowden tube out. So it was, like, multiple centimeters that it thought it printed overnight. It definitely didn't print them. And, like, I had to, like, rewind the entire spool then because, like, it was unreal. There was so much filament everywhere. But unlike a failed print where you put it into, like, when it's, like, extruding, but, like, it didn't stick, like, it missed a layer, or it came, like, unadhered from the bed or something like that, like, the filament was still good. Like, there wasn't a problem with it. The filament was still good, so, like, I didn't waste a ton of filament, unlike the other failures this week. But yeah, I still wanted that to be done, so I'm actually kind of apprehensive because I'm like, oh, well, like, I'm gonna go inside and it's gonna have failed again. Because it's like, I get about an inch of, like, printing, and then it fails. It was, like, 22 millimeters yesterday, and then, like, 18 this morning. Like, I just can't get it to actually finish. So, I have 2 pieces left that need to be printed for the main part of Aridbar. I know that there's, like, a bunch of other little stuff that needs to be printed that I keep being like, oh yes, this is the last of it. It's the last of, like, the big pieces. So then there's, like, a couple of additional, like, spikes that I was going to print separate so that I could, like, just pop them into, like, some holes so that I could take them off for easier transport and, like, less things hanging off of things to potentially break off in transit. So there's a couple of little things like that that I need to do, but most of it is finished. So I'm really excited, theoretically, that it's almost done. It should be done. So it's like a 10-hour and 1-minute print this morning. So if we get another inch, then we're going to shave off another couple hours, and then we're going to do it again, and so on and so forth. Steadily moving forward. But there's still, like, the base of the fingers that needs to be, like, printed. And I think that's another, like, full day print. So I'm a little, like, a little nervous about that because it's a full day print, and I've been failing a lot of those lately. Part of me is just like, okay, let's not worry about the full day print right now. Let's, like, work on other things first, and then, like, we'll see. But ideally, fingers crossed, I can get that started tonight before I go to bed, and then when I wake up tomorrow, we'll take a look at, like, where it is. But that means that, like, I have to go inside, and it has to actually be not failed. If it doesn't fail, it'll be done at 7:40, something like that. And it's like 5:15 right now. So in the event that it hasn't failed, we actually will be in kind of a good position to get that started tonight. And then there will be a couple of hours for me to watch it, build up an inch, and then as soon as I leave, it'll fail again, because, you know, that's the style of it. Contingent on, like, this print having not failed and, like, actually finishing up in, like, the next 2 hours, we'll get that last set of finger pieces printing tonight. And then all of the main pieces are accounted for, and while I'm printing all of the little bits and accessories and shit, I start grooving the plastic to lay in the EL wire. And I don't think that I have enough EL wire as it is, so we will see how far I get with that. It'll be like another like $12 for me to get more, which I don't really have right now. I'm really hoping that I can get at least the whole swoop and like the side pieces and the middle done with what I have, and then maybe buy another thing of EL wire at the last minute and put it into the fingers, or vice versa. Whichever would be fine. But I need to get it printed, and then we can see what we're working with. Worst case scenario would be if we needed 2 things of EL wire, which I'm a little afraid of. I'm a little afraid of, because of how long the fingers are, we're gonna end up having to, like, inlay a lot more length than I'm prepared to deal with. I'm just kind of rambling, and I'll check in later. I don't know, like, I'd like to get a lot done tonight, but we'll see. We'll play it by ear. And I'm quickly losing the daylight, so, like, I am fading into, like, the darkness, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it here, and we will check back in at some point when I know whether or not my prints have failed, and we'll go from there. Holy shit, it's Christmas. It didn't fail. It's actually finishing this fucking print. Thank God. I really like how the lights are looking, and I think that it'll work out the way I need it to. I worry that it's gonna be too subtle. I worry that, like, you won't see the glow so much, but maybe I just can't tell because we're directly under a light over here, or because it's yellow. Maybe it'll show up more when it's not yellow. So we'll find out, but it's a good first test. I think it looks nice. Wow, look at the head on this thing. So anyway, that's the end of the day 1 vlog. So day 1 of Dimitri katsucrunch has finished. 3 weeks from now, we'll be at the con. I'll have worn Dimitri, hopefully, and this will be in the past. And hopefully I'll look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I got a lot done. I'm very proud of myself. That's the end of the day 1 vlogging. I still really hate looking at myself, so probably going to be relatively few parts, like with my face in it, hopefully, because man, I hate looking at my face. But more progress will get done tomorrow, and we'll pick it up in the AM. So thanks for joining me on this Con Crunch journey, and I'll see you tomorrow. Really? Why are you ruining my vlog? Why are you ruining my vlog? Lily. Lily. Yeah. Good morning. So the good news is the print didn't fail overnight. The bad news is there's something really weird going on, and I'm assuming it's something about the slicer. There's a bunch of like ribs in the print, and you can see on the back there's like weird stringing. So I don't know if I don't know what exactly the problem was there in the middle. It doesn't look like it's something that I won't be able to like fix, but still nervous. I just really want these pieces to get printed. If I have to do a little bit of top finishing, like, so be it. I ain't worried about that. I just need the pieces printed so that I can start moving on to finishing and electronics and all that kind of stuff. So, yay. Progress, or whatever. We also got Dimitri's cloak fabric. It's kind of thin, which is fine. Like, it's not going to be as thick as Ferdy's, but I think that'll move better anyway. That arrived today, so I have 1 yard of the navy and 2 yards of the royal, because I really need to finish a bunch of these armor pieces over the weekend if I can, and to do that, I'm going to need a bunch of belts. So I need to make the garters for the thigh armor because my thighs are too bodacious. They just fall down all the time. So I need those garters, but those garters are this royal blue color, so I'm gonna have to make the belts out of the royal blue fabric. So I need to do my big cuts so then I can do my small cuts and get a bunch of these belts done. So originally I thought I was going to cut these on the angle, but in the last couple of months since I actually made this document, I think I'm just going to leave it full. Like, I'm going to leave it the full width of the fabric, which is... How wide is this? It's very hard to do. Uh-oh. Savey, please. Oh, that was a good guess. It is 54 inches long across the back, which gives me like an 8-inch clearance, 4-inch clearance, because it's a 58-inch fabric. So I think I'm going to take off those 4 inches on the side because, hey, those are some belts, right? But then I think I'm going to just, I'm just going to have it be the full width the whole way up, and I'm going to use pleating to like maintain the fullness at the top, because I always end up with these cloaks that don't really cloak very well. So I'm going to try and do some cartridge pleating and then put like a band around the neck and see if that allows the fullness to stay but like keeps it contained and then allows it to actually like flounce out nicely. So it's 54 inches by 43 inches. I will mark that, and then I'll figure out what the angles of this are, because this is only 20 inches. So I'm going to have a lot of fabric in the center that I don't need to cut. So I'm going to try and mark it on a fold, and then see if we can do that instead. Then have a bunch of leftover fabric, because the way that this document is laid out, the white square is the exact dimensions of 1 yard of fabric for this. Obviously I needed to get 2 yards, so I got 2 yards, but I only need, you know, a little bit of the next yard, like a third of a yard, but I had to buy in full yardage, so unfortunately that's kind of where we are for this. So I'm going to try and cut that out, and we will, well, mark it out and then cut it out, and oh gosh, this is very terrifying. Anyway, wish me luck. So obviously this is upside down, but this is the fabric cut out according to my measurements. Originally I said I was going to take 4 inches off the sides, but then I realized the whole point was that I was eliminating the diagonal measurement in favor of just pleating the top to keep the fullness of it. So obviously then I wouldn't take off those extra 4 inches. So it is full width, and I have not cut the navy yet, but it's pinned, and I think that looks appropriate. So I'm going to cut it out, and hopefully I did it right, because there's definitely not enough of the navy to cut out a second attempt. There's probably, if I do it carefully, enough of the royal to try again, because I had to buy so much extra, but I would prefer this to just be done. So here's hoping I did it right. Alright, so let's talk about cartridge pleats. I mentioned that I was going to do some, and my thoughts were, at the time, that I would pleat the entire neckline of the cloak, and I tried 2 different widths. So these are like an inch or so. I didn't actually like measure it, but it's like, you know, roughly an inch. And I pleated it up until like the middle of the back. And what I realized is, when I pleated, you know, half of my fabric width, it only ends up being like a few inches wide. And like, I was thinking about it in terms of like a circle skirt, I guess. I was thinking about like cartridge pleats on like women's clothing, which is mainly where I've heard of them being used, is for like the waistbands of like fluffy like period or Regency clothes. So I did some that were an inch wide, and I did some that were about half an inch wide, because I was like, oh, well, this will stack more because it'll be thinner, which means I have to do more of them to use up the width. But then I got like this far, and it was getting really hard to handle, and I was like, is this going to be worth it? Because it still seems to be really narrow here, and it doesn't look significantly different either way. Like, the end result hasn't been significantly different. So then I was like, okay, well, let me try it on and see what I think. It's a coup. So basically, I leave the back of this, like, unpleated, and it sits really flat against my back, which is great, because I was actually a little worried about it distorting the design on the back once I got the design on. But then, where I've done the cartridge pleats, it actually creates this lovely curve where it just wants to naturally puff out and take this shape, and it does so around my shoulder to an extent that it actually like stays on my shoulder without being pinned, which is amazing, especially because it's very long, and it's not super heavy yet, but there will be like fur trim on the bottom of it. So you know, and it is made of wool, so I mean, it's not super unwieldy, but it is thicker. And I'm just like, wow, why didn't I think of this? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a center mark, and then I'm going to pleat a quarter of the neckline on each side, give or take. Maybe I'll do it in thirds. I'll see what I think. I've got time to decide because my lining fabric won't be here until Monday, which sucks, but that gives me time to do some more experimentation and to think a little bit harder about what exactly I want to do with it. But I think that this is going to be amazing, and so this will sit really nicely on my shoulders, and once I make the underneath pauldron pieces, it should sit very nicely on top of those as well. And I'm gonna have to, like, at some point put eyelets, and like this is gonna need a band across it, so I'm thinking what I'm gonna do is you know, pleat it all and then make a band, and then the band will have ties that go through the eyelets on the doublet, or have eyelets on it that, you know, a cord can go from the doublet up to anchor it. So I think that's the way that we're gonna go. But now that I'm thinking about it, I might have to make holes in my breastplate so that it actually passes through the breastplate up to my shoulders, which means I'm probably going to want to reinforce that with something. So there's going to be more thought involved. We're going to have to work on this a little more. But I'm very happy with my pleated knees, and think that it's been a very productive morning. So yay. So the final pieces of the blade portion of Ardbar have finally finished printing, and I don't know if you can really see on camera because it's white, but they look like shit. Like, full on, like, there was some kind of adhesion problem, or like maybe there was a problem with the G-code, but like about a quarter of the way up, it just started printing like absolute shit. There's like all kinds of fucking stringing on the back, and it's awful. It's very delicate. Like, if you, yeah, like that's not real. And like, it finished at the end strong, it's just like anything that wasn't like the top or the bottom of the piece just looks like absolute shit. And it's okay because it's gonna all be covered by XTC 3D, and I am gonna try and do a little bit of spot filling with the aqua green. So, you know, I'm trying to kind of firm it up a little bit beforehand and kind of smooth that out, but man, I'm disappointed because that just looks awful. And like I said, it's incredibly delicate. So, the pieces are printed. They're what I'm going with. Holy fuck, they're so big, like, next to my hand. So it's gonna be a mighty spear, but yeah, that sucked. And if I didn't have project fatigue, I would figure out what the problem was and try again, but I'm getting, like, printing fatigue on this, so we're just gonna go with this and make it better later. It is day 3 of katsucrunch, and I didn't do a lot of filming yesterday because we had Matt from Typo9 Cosplay over, and I did a lot of, like, fitting on Yuritsa. By that I mean the cowl didn't fit when I went to actually stitch it together, and I couldn't figure out why. So we had to do a lot of exploratory sewing to figure out what exactly the problem was. But he was awesome and brought me some quick seal so that I could work on sealing some of my pieces. These are dry. They've been going overnight, but it's white, so it kind of just still looks like it's not. But anyway, I did a little bit of detailing on the fan braces, and, like, I think it looks super nice. Like, I'm very into how that turned out. I need to do the other one still. Oops. I need to do the other one still, but it's, it was hurting my hands. My hands started locking up, so I stopped doing it last night because my hands were locking up. But these are pretty much ready to be plasti dipped. I've done, like, an interior bevel there and an exterior bevel there, so that when they're both on, they kind of create this, like, edge. Like, they're not going to line up perfectly, but if they do line up, they'll create an edge that looks kind of just intentional and rounded, you know? My goal for the day is to get all of the pieces that I have currently, like, built, caulked and plasti dipped. Which everything except for the like, non-interesting thigh pieces and the breastplate have been caulked already, so well, have started to be caulked. There's some stuff, like, here where I would like to like, fix that up a little bit before I caulk it. I got, like, the beginnings of, like, sanding done there because my cutting skills are absolutely fucking atrocious, just saying. And then there are pieces here that haven't been done at all. And it's really sad because every once in a while I'll cut a piece and it'll actually look pretty good, but then, like, the rest of it looks like shit, so I have to basically decide what is the worst looking piece and then bring everything down to match it, which sucks. But there's little stuff like that I need to do before I can caulk it, and then plasti dip, but that's my goal for the day, is to get everything plasti dipped. And I don't know, maybe if I'm feeling crazy and things go well, I will be able to actually get a little bit of paint down and see how I feel about that. I have some silver that I bought for Ferdy that I'm not sure if I'm going to use or not, maybe just as a base coat. I got like brushed silver because I thought, oh yeah, that'll look really nice. It doesn't. It looks like it's barely got any shine to it at all. Does not look like metal at all. So I'm not super keen on it. So I'll see what other silvers I have, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I need to. Oh, I have coffee in the fridge. Past me didn't drink their coffee. Thanks, Past Jay. Um. Okay, so I'm gonna drink my coffee, and I am going to grab my foam brushes and do the last little bit of sanding that I need to do, and get some caulk down, and then hopefully by like noonish, we'll be able to start plasti dipping some stuff. Yeah. So I had some big plan to wake up early and get a bunch done. This plan came after last night. I decided I wanted to call a friend of mine and that we would talk instead of me doing work. And then when she hung up, it was like, we gotta call again later this week. I really want to talk about this, but I can't right now. I was like, okay, cool. And then instead of going back to work, I went to bed. Which, I mean, it's a choice that I made, but it's just like, ugh. Like, we had just gotten back from dinner a little bit ago, and then I just didn't work last night. I mean, it was like 11 o'clock, so I can't be too hard on myself. But I did want to get more done last night, and I didn't get it done. And I mean, I did a lot of plasti dip. The brush on plasti dip, I'm still on the fence. It's been like 4 or 5 coats, and it's just now starting to look okay. I can really see the brush strokes though, and that's really worrying to me. I don't know. I don't actually know like how I'm gonna feel about it once it's done. I'm really apprehensive. I'm gonna have to really like take a long look at the pieces. I'm gonna probably like do some test painting tonight on one of the underneath vambrace pieces, because at least if that turns out looking kind of like shit, it's underneath other stuff. But I'm apprehensive about it because I don't really like the fact that there's brush strokes, and I was using a sponge brush, so like I'm not even sure where the brush strokes came from, other than just I was using a sponge brush and it didn't like fully like spread the way that it was supposed to. So it's one of those things where I'm not entirely sure if I'm doing it right. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. If I'm not doing it wrong, then I just don't like it. And it is what it is, and this is kind of what I'm stuck with now. Because I've definitely done the vambraces all at least like halfway there, and the thigh pieces. I haven't done the breastplate yet, which I'm kind of like, oh, for once I actually didn't start with a breastplate, so that might be a good thing. There's a lot of other stuff that I'm now looking at. I'm like, this is not good. So we'll see how I feel about things. It's Monday morning, so now begins the work week. I got the cloak stitched together, so the lining fabric should be here today. As much as I want to put it all together, I'm not going to, because I need the bottom edge for I need the bottom edge open for the fur trim. I just woke up. Sorry. I need the bottom edge open for the fur trim, and then once the fur trim is on, then I can sew it all together and put a band on it, and then figure out how it's gonna tie. The idea of the eyelets going through everything still appeals to me, but the more I look at the dress form, the more I'm unsure if that'll actually work out. So we're gonna have to see what exactly I can do about that, because I really think it's going to have to go through the breastplate, which is fine. I just need to, like, put down some washers or something and make sure that it doesn't just, like, you know, tear completely through. So yeah, I have to go to work. When I get home, my fabric should be here from Sartor Bohemia, and I can, like, just lay on it and think about how beautiful it is, and hopefully, it'll look nice on the inside of my cloak, and I'll probably take a couple of shots of the inside of my cloak. But anyway, time to go to work and spend the entire day thinking about being home working on cosplay, as usual. I mean, this is just a reminder to myself, as well as everybody else, that when you look at all of the work that you did, and you're like, man, I didn't get enough done, and you start to beat yourself up, being like, man, I really didn't get enough done, I feel really shitty about my progress, but you spent hours working. Sometimes it takes hours to do something, and in the end, it doesn't even look that good. Sometimes you do it for hours, and then you're like, I'm not sold on that. I can see all the brush strokes, and I feel bad about it. But, you know, it took hours to do it, and sometimes things that don't seem like they're very useful or good take a long time to do, and that's because it just takes a long time to do them. So don't beat yourself up, it's part of the process. Okay, so the tonight update is that I'm finishing up plasti dipping all of the pieces that I got started that are like semi-functional. So I've got the front of the two vambraces. They're here, they've been plasti dipped. They've actually been stynol resed. So this is what it looks like after it's been stynol resed. These are not quite dry, so we'll be careful with them as we throw them on the floor. The easy way to see the difference is that this piece of the vambrace has been stynol resed, and this piece has only been plasti dipped. So there is a slight difference between the two. I would say that the stynol res makes it more matte and like even looking, because the stynol res actually has like self-leveling agents in it as well. And because I've been doing brush on plasti dip, it hasn't been as smooth as it could be. So it's kind of interesting seeing the difference between the two of them. Initially, I wasn't going to use the stynol res, but I actually really like the way that it looks. A little behind on this because we had a couple of problem spots. You can see there that there was something stuck in the plasti dip, and I made the mistake of picking it out, and then I tried to like buff it with some sandpaper, and then I tried to buff it with the Dremel, and I mean, like, is it not obvious? It made a hole. It was a problem. So I've been trying to work my way through that. So hopefully get that like actually properly cleared up tomorrow. But that's these pieces. It's the inner part of the vambraces, and then the tops of the outer parts, and then the the inside part of the vambraces are actually like painted partially. So this is one of them, and then this is the other one. So I actually am really happy with how these are turning out. Started with just some like normal metallic silver paint, specifically the sterling, and that's a little bit on the darker side. So then I ended up adding a little bit of this stuff to it, and I was thinning it with some of this stuff. Initially, I just thinned it with the airbrush medium, and that was pretty good. But then the actual in-game models are very light, like almost white, like it's so silver. So this is what I was getting initially, which isn't bad, but it was definitely like, it was coming out like proper silver, you know, and it kind of looks more like hardened steel or something like that. And that wasn't the look I was going for. So I ended up adding a little bit of white to it, and then this is the silver with a little white added to it. So as you can see, it's much lighter, and it gives me that really light pop. I do lose a little bit of the reflective quality. It still looks metallic, but it looks more brushed, I guess, which I'm not crazy about. I actually was trying to not get a brushed metallic look because I don't like how the Ferdy pauldrons turned out. But it is what it is. I like the way that this looks, and it looks metallic enough for me that we're gonna keep going with this, and I may go back in and pull some more of these, more of like the undiluted with white paint to kind of pop it back a little bit. But those are everything but the breastplate that's like done and ready. I need to do some more touch up tomorrow on the pauldrons, and then I can get those started with the Plasti Dip Stynal Res paint treatment. Ideally, by the end of the week, I would like to have all of the pieces that are currently together painted. Maybe not like weathered or like fully shaded or whatever, but like painted as a starting point. I would like that to be my goal for the week, and I would feel pretty good about it. There's still more pieces that need to be made. There are knee pads and greaves and the second set of pauldrons and the elbow pads and the upper arms and things like that. But I'm gonna put those off for now until I have like everything that's currently in progress like finished and wearable, because they're the most important parts, and then look at all the secondary pieces. So like once the cloak is done, once the mantle is done, once all the pieces that I'm working on now are done, that's when I'll really reevaluate like what pieces I want to add. Ideally, I would also have the knee pads. If I don't get the greaves done, and I'm forgetting like the name of the foot armor now, then it's not a big deal because I have like black riding boots that I'll just wear instead. Same with like the elbow pads. Like I don't think I'm gonna be super missing out if I don't have them. Like it won't ruin the costume. So I'd much rather put the effort into something else in the short term and then like make them for like a 2.0 version later. I also have a lot of like other like fussy pieces to make, like all the belts. This is using some of the wool from the cloak to make belts. And these are not going to be, I mean, they're going to be functional, but not like functional. They're just for show, mainly. They need to be there because they're pops of color throughout the costume. I also need to make like an actual proper belt. I'll need to do that at some point. These pieces here, these belts like go across the back. So like that's why it's important, because there's like a pop of color that needs to be there. For these, I'm just going to have it be just flat strap across the back. So they'll plug into there, they'll go across there, and that'll make them there and present, and that's all that I need. There's other ones like on the hips and on the side of the breastplate, so I'll need to make more of these little like fake clasps for all of those pieces, and it kind of sucked making those. I'm not really looking forward to it. But anyway, that's the update for tonight, and tomorrow I will hopefully finish up painting the vambraces. I'd like to get those like done and sealed and set to the side. I need to do a little bit more finishing on the pauldrons and the other piece of the thigh armor, and then they can start the process, do the finishing work that I need to do on the breastplate. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now, and we will reconvene tomorrow. Though, now that I'm thinking about it, tomorrow I'll probably put together my cloak, because I can. I would feel really good to get the cloak together. Maybe, instead, I will do the cloak really quick, because my fur is supposed to arrive tomorrow. So, I'd love to get the fur on the bottom of the cloak, and get the cloak stitched up, and sit down and do all the cartridge pleats tomorrow, so maybe I'll do that instead. I don't know, we'll find out. We'll find out what I do tomorrow on tomorrow's vlog. Quick, this is the lining fabric, and isn't it fucking beautiful? I love this fabric, holy shit. It's Wednesday, my dudes. And I wish I had better things to say. I'm hoping that this is short-lived, but I'm really having a lot of trepidation about the costume. Obviously, we kind of skipped ahead. I didn't really make any progress vlog yesterday. And it's not that I didn't work on stuff, because I did. I got the lining material cut out. I got the fur on the bottom edge cut out and applied, and the cloak tacked together, and I even put it on. I like very roughly pin pleated the shoulders for like a clip of me standing in front of the mirror or something. But when I got in front of the mirror, I hated it. And I did a lot of painting yesterday too. And I put satin coat over one piece of the van braces, the backs of them that are just silver, and I didn't like how it looked. And I don't really know where to go, because I've got that creeping despair, I guess, where I'm really concerned about everything finishing up. Hi, baby. You hear me saying sad things? Come here. Anyway, I'm sure it'll pass, and this is the part where I just have to kind of keep pushing forward, but it sucks, and I hate this part, and I really wish I didn't have to deal with this part, but I feel really bad about the progress. I feel like I'm going to spend all this time painting everything, and then I'm going to put a clear coat over it to protect it, because it's not a rattle can. I don't usually do clear coats, because I use rattle cans, and those are pretty safe, but this is acrylic sprayed through an airbrush, so there's actually nothing at all protecting it, and it's water soluble, so it'll just go. But I feel like I'm spending a lot of time with this metallic paint, and then when I hit it with the satin coat, it just dulls it out, and that sucks. I don't know how I'm going to feel at the end of it, and hopefully I won't feel like I wasted my time. I feel that way about the black that I'm about to put on for all the accents. That... There's my alarm. That it's not going to look metallic at all once it has a satin coat on it, because it doesn't look very metallic as it is, but I don't know. I'm at the point where I have a lot of concern that I'm not able to make things that look nice. And this happens every time. This happens at some point during every project, and I just have to get through it. But I hate it. I wish I could remove it from my projects. I wish I could just work on things and feel good about them, or at least trust that I'm doing it correctly, but I just don't feel that way about it this time. So, we'll see. Hopefully when I get home from work, I'll feel better about it or something. I don't know. But that's it for now. I painted and I made my cloak yesterday, and I wasn't happy with anything. Spent like 4 hours tacking the lining to the side here. Like, it was already properly seamed together, but I wanted to tack it closed instead of just relying on pressing to keep it like nice and crisp on the side. So now this whole thing is tacked in like a weird sort of back stitch. Like, I was basically coming through the backside and like immediately in the same spot popping back up, so that like there's no real visible stitching. You can see little puckers where the individual stitches are, but you can't see like a line of stitches on the inside. And then on the outside, because I care less about that, you can more properly see, if the camera will focus. Oh, you can kind of see. There's a line of stitches on the edge there. And there's a couple of like straggler threads that I need to trim. But after that, I went across the bottom and did like a running back stitch, marrying the two sides together at the fur to keep the inside seam allowance folded up and to kind of make it a little nicer on the inside. I'm obviously, I mean, you can probably tell I'm really tired. I really want to go to bed. So that's it for now. Do I feel better about it? A little bit. I didn't get the cartridge pleats done, so I can't like properly put it on and evaluate whether or not I'm happy with it. But I did like, 6-ish hours of hand stitching, which was very soothing. Watched a lot of TV snuggled on the couch, that kind of stuff. I think I'm getting somewhere. I don't know if it's particularly fast, but the lining is in. It's really pretty. The fur is on the bottom. And once I get the cartridge pleats and the band on, we'll be able to actually work on attaching it to stuff and making it wearable. And once we do that, then we can worry about what we're going to do for the back. So yeah, that's it for now. And this will probably be the last video on week 1 of katsucrunch vlog. I really hate to leave it on kind of a bad note, but at the same time, like, I just don't have any control over that. So if you guys enjoy this vlog, just let me know. And hopefully week 2, which will start tomorrow since it's Thursday and I have to have stuff done by Thursday if I don't want to go crazy. Hopefully week 2 will be very productive and I'll feel better overall about the progress that I make. But that's it for now, and I'll see you guys in katsucrunch week 2 vlog. Goodbye.